Hello and welcome to Emerald Cottage. My name's Jill and this is my place on the internet to talk about all things crochet, knitting, cross stitch, sewing and general crafty shenanigans that I get up to. Slightly different episode for you today. We're going to be talking about the new TV show Game of Wool. Have you seen it? Did you watch it? We've had 2 episodes of it now. I'm a bit late to the party, but I'm going to be reviewing each episode each week. But we'll start today with episode 1. I'll tell you now, I loved it. There's been a lot of controversy about it, but I loved it. I'll give you my whole opinions on it at the end, but safe to say I loved it. So what I thought I'd do is chat through the episode while I'm sitting working on my wicked cardigan. My 2 colours, wicked cardigan. Can't even say it, for my wicked cardigan. And we'll sit and have a chat about the episode that aired on a week past on Sunday, which was the 2nd, I think it was, of November. Is that right? Yeah, the 2nd of November was the first episode. So we'll have a bit of a chat about that first episode and see what we all think. So it's titled The Game of Wool. I've got notes below me, so if I keep looking down, it's because I'm looking at my notes. It's titled Game of Wool, Hunt for Britain's Best Knitter. Now, the first thing I noticed was that they said it was the Hunt for Britain's Best Knitter, and then Tom Daly, who's the presenter, said, Hunt for Britain's Best Knitter with 2 needles or a hook, they are blah, blah, blah. Well, hang on a minute, you don't use a hook for knitting. So, and there's a couple of times later on where they seem to use crochet and knit interchangeably. So I think they being the production team, are kind of selling it as crochet as a subset of knitting, which of course it isn't, it's a different craft entirely, but that aside, let's just move on from that. So they've got 10 contestants. They have 8 weeks of the show. Each week they have a solo challenge and a team challenge, and they're judged by 2 ladies called Di Gilpin and Sheila Greenwell, who apparently have worked for people like Chanel and who else was it, Vivienne Westwood and King Charles. So they're a pair of older ladies, quite traditional, which obviously comes out in their method of judging, but we'll come on to that in a bit. Tom Daly, as I say, is the presenter, the international diver, the gold medalist diver. Has he won like 5 gold medals or something? He's also a very famously knits and crochets, and we often see pictures of him poolside knitting while he's waiting for his turn to dive. So he's the presenter. He's obviously trying to make a TV career at the minute, because he was in the Traitors as well, wasn't he? Celebrity Traitors. If you haven't watched that, go and watch it. It's fantastic. So Tom Daly is the presenter, and he was wearing a very funky blanket come poncho come cardigan come, not quite sure what it was really. Very avant-garde, as I would say would be the way to describe it. Not sure if I liked it or not, can't make up my mind. I wouldn't wear it, but I think for a TV presenter, go for it. If you think you've got the guts to wear it, just go for it. Why not? Quite funny, every 5 minutes the kind of positioning of it would change. It'd be off one shoulder, off both shoulders, wrapped around him. So yeah, obviously lots of ways to wear that piece, whatever it was. So each week they have, as I say, 2 challenges. At the end of the week, they announce big knitter of the week, who's the winning person for that week, and they cast off somebody, They cast off somebody who then leaves the show each week. So the first solo challenge was a reimagining of a Fair Isle tank top. So those are the exact words they used, reimagining of a Fair Isle tank top. And it had to be about their story and what makes them them. They have 12 hours to do it, which isn't very long. And consequently, they all use or are told to use chunky wool because of the time constraint. So there's been a lot of hoo-ha on the internet and on Facebook and on YouTube and so on about the fact that chunky wool isn't traditionally used in Fair Isle. Fair Isle is traditionally used with a Scottish 2-ply, I think it is. I'm not going to get into all that. I'm not a Fair Isle expert. I know the people of Shetland are up in arms about it all. Again, I'm not going to get into all that because I'm not an expert and I don't feel informed enough to make an informed decision on that. So we'll just gloss over that and say that there was lots of hoo-ha from the Fair Isle folk in Shetland. It's not the Fair Isle that these contestants worked on wasn't traditional Fair Isle. Let's draw a line under it at that. So anyway, they had to do this reimagining of a Fair Isle tank top. And then we're introduced to all the different, well, actually, before they introduce the contestants, there's a nice little technical description of the construction of a tank top with little images showing it being made from the bottom up, and then you have the arms at the end and all that kind of thing, and the little peery designs that go on it. And they also reference stranded colour work, which is, I'm trying to multitask here. I'm trying to crochet, read and talk at the same time, and it's really challenging. I can't do it. I think I might have to ditch the crochet or just not talk to you. Which should I do? Not talk or ditch the crochet? Anyway, so we're showing a quick little what you call it, animation of how to construct a tank top in Fair Isle. And then we're introduced to all the contestants. So the first contestant we meet is Holger, who is German, and well, maybe he's British, but he's German, if you know what I mean. He's hilarious. So the first thing he says is he's not happy about using chunky wool, and he says, to tell me to express myself in super chunky yarn is like telling a vegetarian to express themselves in the medium of steak. Brilliant. Love him so much. He's so funny. So yeah, Holger is German, and he seems quite straight-laced, but I think he'll probably loosen up as the series goes on, I think. We then meet Isaac, who confesses he's a bit bad at estimating time. Could this be foreshadowing? We'll have to wait and see. And his family call him a silly goose, so he decides to put goose motifs in his jumper, in his tank top rather. We meet Gordon, who is a very traditional knitter. Gordon has multiple hats, one of which is he's a singer on a cruise ship. He is using steeking in his Fair Isle tank top, which apparently, according to everybody on the TV show and everybody since, it's very controversial. Lots of discussion about steeking, and in fact Gordon himself releases a little video all about steeking, which we'll talk about at the end. We met Tracy, who's a nature lover, and she puts elements of trees and things into her her design. She's a lover of embellishments, which comes out to the fore in episode 2, which I've already watched, by the way. So I'll do another chapter of the podcast about chapter 2 of the show, if that makes sense. We meet Dipti. Dipti says she's very amateur, her words, not mine, and she says she's quite slow. So we'll see how she progresses as the weeks go by. She's never tried Fair Isle before, so this will be interesting to see how she gets on. Then there was Stephanie, who's very excitable, lovely lady. She's a life coach, I want to say. Yes, but a lovely lady. We meet Meadow, who's the youngest contestant. Meadow is only 18. I think she might have only been 17 when she got picked to be in the show. She's from Northern Ireland, so I'm very pro Meadow. Yeah, go Meadow. She learned from her granny when she was about 6, and she's been knitting ever since and wants to go into knitting design as a career, which is very exciting. Then there's Simon, who's an ex-Marine turned builder, which is very unusual, isn't it, to have a builder or a Marine who knits. A very unusual combination, but go Simon, that's what I say. Well done. He's been knitting for over 10 years and says it always raises an eyebrow when he produces his knitting on the building site. But yeah, go Simon, good for you. We meet Lydia, who doesn't knit for her kids, she says. I met her at Make Joy, the knitting event, the yarn event on Sunday in London, which I'll talk about in another episode. She was exhibiting as Waku Yarns, and I had a great chat with her about the show. And yeah, she had lots to say about it, although I guess they've all signed NDAs, so they can't really say too much, but she was quite chatty about it, and she was a very friendly lady, really lovely to talk to. And then finally we meet Ilse, who's very quiet, seems like a lovely Scottish lady, and she's been knitting for over 20 years. So the contestants set about making their Fair Isle tank tops, and the judges flit about making comments on them and asking them questions about their knitting. The contestants all seem quite calm and quite organised, and everyone's doing okay, until they get to the 1 hour. I think they have 12 hours to do this task, I believe I said. 12 hours to do this task. When they get to the 1 hour left, it's big panic stations. Loads of them haven't finished, and it's all very stressful. And the funniest moment of all of the whole programme is when Tom's going around saying, you know, how much time left, how are you doing? And he goes to Dipti and says, not much time left, how are you doing? And she goes, Tom, I don't have time. And just kind of blanks him like that. Just says, I really don't have time right now. Brilliant, absolutely. And Tom's like, oh, okay. And off he goes to harass the next contestant. There's lots of discussion on the programme and by the contestants about Gordon's steeking, which again we'll come on to later. And then the time runs out and it's announced that Tom will be modelling the tops. So cue Tom modelling various tops. I'll just run over these quickly. So Lydia, Stephanie, Meadow, Simon and Tracy all finished. Beautiful tops. Gordon ran out of time, big style. He did steek his armholes and his armholes, I guess it was, but didn't have time to finish them off. So they looked very raggedy and it looked like a very unfinished item. Ilse's jumper or tank top was beautiful and made Di Gilpin cry. It's so beautiful. It's making me cry. And she shed a little tear, very dramatic. Isaac ran out of time a wee bit, as did Holger. And then Dipty's didn't fit over Tom's head. So Tom went to try and Dipty's. It wouldn't fit over his head. He couldn't get it on. So poor Dipty was very upset. So the next thing they did was the team challenge, which I actually found out from Lydia on Sunday that they filmed the team challenge first and the solo challenge second. So they swapped that around in the TV show. They filmed the team challenge first, and apparently they were just flung into this team challenge not knowing each other, so I think it was quite stressful for them. But the team challenge was they had to knit a fitted sofa cover, which is quite a big undertaking, isn't it? Again, using chunky yarn. This time it was judged blind and they had 10 hours to do it, and they were divided into two teams. So team one was Isaac, who was the silly goose, if you remember, Gordon, who was a steeking, Meadow, who was Northern Ireland, Tracy, who was the nature lover of embellishments, and Dipty, who was the amateur knitter, she self-confessed. Team two was Simon, who's the ex-Marine, Lydia, who is the lady I met at Make Joy, Stephanie, who was the very excitable, lovely lady, Holger, who's the German guy, and Ilse, who's the quiet one. That's how I'll kind of refer to them. So that was team one and team two. So they were told just to, the design had to be cohesive, and it had to cover the whole of the sofa. They weren't allowed to have any of it left uncovered, including the feet and legs. So team one, which was Isaac's team, did a sort of sunset type design. So they had, the back panel was all like ombre. Is that the word I want to use? It's not really ombre, more like a sunset rainbow. So orange, red, purple, those kind of colours. And then they had like a sort of beach colours for the rest of the sofa. And they had some stars around the side for the night sky, and so on and so forth. There's, where are my notes? Isaac massively underestimated the amount of time it would take to do the colour work for the sunset. That was the foreshadowing I mentioned earlier, where Isaac said he wasn't very good at estimating time. So that's come out already, and obviously that was edited that way to show that point. Excuse me. Consequently, because of Isaac underestimating how much time it would take, overestimating how much work he could get done, he didn't manage to finish the panel, so they didn't finish their design. Team two, which was Holger's team, did an ombre design, a proper ombre, that's not the right word, proper ombre. It flowed from one colour to the next. They had strips, so if the sofa's like sitting like that, and that's the sofa, they had strips going down that way, and the strips along the back. It's not very well described, is it? But you know what I mean. And they joined the strips together. So the strips are all different colours, melding one into another, and they joined the different colours with a lovely piece of cabling, which was really nice. Really unusual design decision, and I felt it worked very well. And they finished their design, and there was a really sweet moment where they finished their design, and then Holger went, should we go and help the other team? And they all went, yeah. So they all went and helped the other team sew up their pieces, which was lovely. It was a very nice kind of coming together of the two teams. Not so lovely was the point where I think it was Dipty suggested a group hug, and Isaac and Meadow were like, no, I'm not hugging. So that was quite funny. Not everyone's a hugger, I have to remember that. So yeah, so the point was that at the point of the group hug, they had really only just met to do that challenge. They hadn't done the solo challenge or had a break in between to get to know each other or anything. So yeah, that, I think that was partly why they were a bit reluctant to hug, because they'd only just met really. So let's talk about the judges. The judges, Di and Sheila, they were a bit dry. I find them bit sort of quiet and not a lot to say really. Not particularly constructive. Quite brutal in some of their comments. They called the sunset sofa ambitious and not finished, and they said it was for the car crashes and had no cohesion. So it was like, wow, that was quite brutal. They noticed that the ombre one was fully covered but not quite finished. Well, I mean, it was really more or less finished, but I just kind of think, what are they expecting? And I mean, had 12 hours, so 10 hours? 10 hours they had to do it, I think, 10 hours. 10 hours to do it, and yeah, what are the judges expecting really? I think both teams did really well to produce the amount of work they did in those 10 hours as a team, which obviously the 10 hours includes the design time as well. So very tricky. I mean, it would take me 10 hours to design a thing, never mind knit it. Well, we all know that I wouldn't be able to knit it, but you know what I mean. So anyway, the ombre team won. According to the judges, they demonstrated better design concept and execution overall. I would argue about the design concept particularly, because I think the design concept for the other teams was really good as well. It was very cohesive. They had a nice cohesive beach flowing into the sea, flowing into the sunset with the stars around the side, so there plenty of cohesion. It just that they didn't get time to join it all up. That one, they didn't get time to cover the legs of the sofa, so they didn't finish. So Team Ombre won. They then announced who is the big knitter of the week, and that was wee Ilsa. She got it, and biggest worst pun of the episode, she gets a sheep badge. Oh, that was a real cringe moment for me. It's like, oh Tom, what are you doing? Don't say that. And she gets this lovely little, it's really nice little sheepy badge to wear, and she's the big knitter of the week. And then of course they have to announce who's leaving, and this week, very sadly, it was Gordon who left, and they said it was because of his tank top not being finished, and they alluded to the fact that the steeking slowed him down in some way, which actually I said I'd come on to Gordon later. So Gordon has put out a video since explaining about his tank top and why he chose the way to do it that he did and so on. And it's very interesting. Go and watch it if you can. I'll try and link it below. I'm not quite sure how I can link things in the description box below, but I'll try. His video is very interesting, and he shows how steeking isn't risky. It doesn't unravel. So what you do is you cut it vertically between the stitches, and then you're left with a sort of like a slit and two, where you then join your arm. So say it's an armhole that you're steeking. So you steek the armhole, it then curls round in itself, and you pick up stitches about maybe 2 or 3 stitches in to attach like a ribbing for the armhole. And then you may, if you wish, not darn in, but sew over the end to stabilise them a bit more, but you don't have to. And obviously with chunky yarn, I think it's quite a different beast altogether. That that traditional way of steeking and then attaching the sleeves to the a few stitches in would add a lot of bulk to the armhole, whereas with normal feral wool there wouldn't be that bulk. Excuse me, I've got my bad throat this morning. So yeah, but what he also mentioned, which was not discussed in the show at all, was that he messed up some of his feral design and had to rip back about 20 rows, and that's what set him back time-wise, not the steeking. It was the having to rip back his design which set him back in terms of time, and that was why he didn't get his finished. So yeah, a bit of a shame, and I think Gordon probably had a lot more to offer, so very sad that he had to leave. But someone had to go, so you know, that's the nature of these programs, is that someone gets voted out each week, and it is quite harsh, but I suppose you go into it knowing what to expect. But yeah, overall I loved it. I think it's great that it's on TV on a Sunday night at 8 o'clock on Channel 4, so it's very mainstream. They haven't put it on Channel 5 at 2 in the morning on a Sunday, on a Thursday or something. They've put it on a Sunday at 8 o'clock, so it's, you know, almost primetime TV, which is really good, and it's getting knitting out there and it's getting other people interested in it. That's a really good thing. I think it's a fun show if you don't take it too seriously. If you're going to be the Fair Isle police, don't watch it because you'll get annoyed with it. There has been a lot of talk about whether they should have done smaller pieces in like DK size yarn, for example. And I think, you know, they could have done that, but I don't think it would have been as fun. I think if they produced like a little Fair Isle sample, that would have just been a bit boring. They had to actually produce a wearable garment, which had to be worn by a person, Tom. And I think that's what made it interesting, and it does make it a bit extreme. I mean, it is like an extreme knitting competition, which that word's never used, but that's what it is an extreme knitting competition. Extreme time pressures, extreme designs, extreme materials. So yeah, I think if you're watching it expecting knitting to be represented very traditionally, you're not going to enjoy it. But if you go into it with an open mind and look at it as it's a form of entertainment, because that's what it is after all, it's entertainment, you might find that you actually quite enjoy it. So yeah, so it was a great episode, great first episode. I loved it. I will be watching every episode with glee, and I felt very lucky to meet Lydia at Make Joy. Make Joy, just to tell you briefly, is a yarn show run by my friend Alison Thistlewood. And this is the second year that Alison set it. Was actually the third year. There was a year before COVID that she ran it, but this is the second kind of proper year that she's run it. And she has about 24 vendors, and then she has 3 or 4 talks, and lots of workshops. And there's a really nice cafe, and there's tables where you can just sit and knit, and it's a really lovely community event. It's really, really nice. It's in London, and it's every November. I highly recommend, if you can get there, that you go to it, because it's just a lovely, lovely feel to it. Much more community feel than some of the bigger yarn shows, which, don't get me wrong, have a place. I love a bigger yarn show. But yeah, lovely community feel. And of course I went mad about lots of wool, which I'll show you in a future. In fact, no, stuff I'll show you it now. Let's have a look at it now, shall we? So the first thing I bought was this hat set. So this is it here. It's by Wool Kitchen, and it's Aran yarn, cream Aran yarn, and then this lovely silk mohair, which you can see is very, very fine. Can you see it there? And you hold the two together, double, and then it comes out with a beautiful cream hat with this kind of lovely kind of halo of grey and pinks. And yeah, that was from the Wool Kitchen, but just, yeah, gorgeous labelling as well. Look how she's tied it on with the little stars, just lovely. So that was my Wool Kitchen purchase. Then from I think they're called Les Garçons, which is the 2 French Canadian chaps. I bought these 2 skeins here, which are in a colourway called Je ne sais quoi. And there is a pattern on their website called Je ne sais quoi, which apparently these were dyed up especially for the yarn show for Les Garçons, and they have produced this pattern Je ne sais quoi as well to match the colourway. So, and it was a lovely cowl, very intricate knitting pattern. So don't know how successful I'll be, but I'll give it a go at some point. Then I bought these two, which I don't know what I'm going to do with them because I just love them, which were Ted Knits UK, and these beautiful like neon green with these like neon yellow and orange splashes of net through them. But isn't it lovely? So that was really, really funky colour. I really loved that. Sort of, it's like a sort of neon minty green. Very unusual. So yeah, that's those two. And then I bought two from yarntings.com called Crush in this fantastic yellow. Look at that, isn't it glorious? These are merino sock yarn, they're 100% merino. These ones, I should say, the green ones are merino with neon net. The spin cycle yarns are, can't actually read the label. Where does it say? 100% American wool, it just says. And then this yarn cake is Aran, and then it's a kid mohair silk, and it's called Orion Nebula. Isn't it fabulous? So that's my little haul from Make Joy. So yeah, so Make Joy was really good fun, and it was really nice to meet Lydia. Holger and Simon were also there. We saw them, but didn't speak to them. But we went up to Lydia and said, oh, we watched you on Sunday, and that was really fun to chat to her. So yeah, it was really nice to meet her. The Game of Wool is just, yeah, it's a delight, I think. Absolute delight. I loved it. I really loved it. I'll be watching every week, and I'll be reviewing episode 2 shortly. And with that, I think I shall say goodbye. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll speak to you in the next one. Bye.